Your son wants to get a cat,
I'll really take care of it.
but you're allergic. Do you A, prepare yourself, B, make the best of it,
C squared equals
25.
Good job.
or C, find a loophole? When it comes to parenting, there are no perfect answers, but that's okay, because you don't have to be perfect to be a perfect parent. Teens in foster care will love you just the same.
The following program was provided by an independent producer, solely responsible for its content. The views, information, or opinions expressed during this program series are solely those of the host and guests appearing on the program and do not necessarily represent those of this station, its staff, board of directors, or underwriters.
Brainstorm, bringing great minds and ideas together, exploring a wide variety of opportunities, achieving academic excellence, using the latest technology, government's impact, preparing for 21st century careers, parenting and health issues, topics shaping tomorrow. Brainstorm with Lisa Willerver, bringing great minds and ideas together.
Hi, welcome to Brainstorm. I'm Lisa Willerver, and today we're talking about internet safety for parents. Before we begin, let's learn a little bit more about our topic. From the gigantic mainframes and corded rotary phones of yesterday to the mobile devices of today, technology has come a long way, and it's everywhere, from the workplace to our schools, and especially in our homes. But with technology bringing the world to our doorsteps, and even toddlers accessing the internet, how can parents keep up and protect their families? Joining me today from Atlanta, Georgia is FBI agent David Fryman. Dave, thank you so much for being here with us today.
Thank you for having us. We appreciate it.
Now, before we begin, why don't you tell the viewers a little bit about your background?
So I spent 10 years in the Marine Corps, pretty much all over the world, first Gulf War, and then I'm finishing up my 21st year in the Bureau as a special agent. I started off investigating white-collar crime, moved over to cybercrime, and now I do digital forensics.
Okay, so first, thank you for your service. And second, this kind of makes you an expert because not only do you have the computer background, you're also a parent. So technology has been advancing so rapidly. We have a generation that went from corded phones and mainframe computers to now we have the mobile devices. It's very hard for people to keep up, especially parents. What advice do you have for parents when it comes to just in general keeping up with things technologically?
Well, you know, I mean, part of the problem is that we are of an instant information age. We want everything now, and part of the internet, the good part about it is you can get information, although sometimes it's not accurate, but it's instant. And I personally feel like that has taken away a lot of the conversation part, just having regular communication. When kids can look up an answer. They don't have to rely so much on their parents or feel like they do. It lessens it, and when parents don't sometimes hear from their kids what they're doing in education-wise or whatever, they don't take the time to communicate as well.
Now, there are so many apps. I mean, I remember when I got my first mobile phone, there were no apps. You know, it was a flip phone. Now we're to the point where phones are essentially computers. The apps, there are so many, and some are really useful. They're productive. They do make our lives easier. But then you also have apps that can really be a danger. Is it even possible for parents to be aware of, to stay that on top of it, to be aware of every app and every possible danger heading their children's way?
So I look at it this way. Just between the two biggest operating systems for mobile devices, Android and Apple, there's over 6 million apps out there. It's nearly impossible to keep up with everything, even categorizing, the communications part of it, the texting, the sharing of photos, things like that, narrows it down to still an innumerable amount. And so when we look at it that way, and we deal with it from our perspective as a parent, myself being a parent. We have to only worry about our 1, 2, 3 kids, or 5, whatever your number of kids you have, is the difference between 6 million apps, trying to keep up with that, and trying to keep up with just our kids directly. And again, as I've hammered home, and I think that we've discussed before, communication is just critical. It's critical.
Do you feel that the schools are keeping up with making sure kids understand? I mean, I know in what used to be called library is now media. And I know they're trying to do that, but I also know so many schools don't even have libraries anymore, and they've taken out a lot of the media. Should we have a class for kids? I mean, this is such a big part of their lives. Do you think schools should be more proactive, which would also help parents understand it more?
And again, the difficulty is that as parents, a lot of times we rely on the educators, the teachers, or whatever to be the first line of defense to cover this. And unfortunately, my wife's a teacher, and unfortunately, they have so many things that they already have to cover based upon the Department of Education standards and things of that nature, that just adding more and more to their burden is just very difficult to do. But some of the things that they can do that are successful is having law enforcement come in that have experience in this area to discuss with the kids about safety. And I know years ago, I used to do very active on computers and homes. And the computer at home is no longer the computer at home because it's stationary in a single room or something of that nature. It is mobile. I mean, the phone is more powerful today than the computer was 10 years ago. And so you don't have the ability to keep up with that, okay, the kids are on the computer and it's sitting in a main room, and they want to say, okay, that's enough for that, or what are you doing, or what side are you looking at? It's mobile. And so, again, a large burden is placed on the teachers, but I think as parents, we can obviously educate more as well, but bringing in law enforcement to, give classes, to talk to them, to educate that way can really enhance it, those capabilities.
So I love what you're saying, because I was a former teacher and I am a parent with 3 children, and I do think the communication is the key, and I think that we can't expect one app to monitor everything. We hear the words parental control, and you want to think that this is going to help keep your kids safer, but at the end of the day, it really comes down to parenting. What's your opinion on parents who, their teenagers, tweens and teens, maybe saying to them, you're invading my privacy? I personally don't give my kids that kind of privacy. What is your opinion on that?
So again, as a parent specifically, privacy, if they're, first of all, if the parent is paying for the phones, if it's a family plan and they're paying for the phones, they have every right to have access to it and control it. They can easily take it away just as much as they've provided it. You touched upon parent apps and things like that, or these apps that help protect or monitor what the kids are doing. And, there are a lot of them out there. If they do 2018 best parental monitoring apps, they'll find a wide variety of them as well. And some of them you pay for, and some of them you don't have to pay for. And again, we don't advocate one over the other, but again, sometimes you get what you pay for. So if you're paying for a service and it's important to you, especially as a parent, it definitely helps. I mean, again, we all need help in that area because everything is mobile and everything, we're off doing one thing and our kids are off doing another. So concerning the privacy thing, again, as long as they're under my household, as far as my kids, and I'm paying for the service, they don't have that specific right to privacy, that I consider.
Well, and I think the fact that kids knowing mom and dad might check my phone is a good tool to really try to help them make good decisions. You know, if they think nobody's ever looking, they might explore a little more. They might be, you know, go off into more dangerous territory, where if they think mom and dad at any point could just say, hey, let me take a look at your phone. And it's not that I don't trust you. It's that, you know, you may do something you think is safe, and you might need an adult to come and say, no, that's not safe. The other issue, though, is the age. I don't know if people realize, you know, how young kids are getting devices now. You know, I see children who are 2 years old with phones, 3 years old with their own phones. And I know a lot of times people say, well, so they can play a game or, you know, there's a lot of different reasons they have them. But what are you talking about as far as age? What do you think? You know, should we hold back a little bit on some of this technology?
So, you know, to address that issue about age and things like that, kids learn what they see. So if we're out to a restaurant and dinner and everybody is like this, you know, looking at their devices and their phones, the kids are going to learn it from an early age as well. They're going to say, they're curious, they want to learn. So I see that all the time, and I think it's become a distraction as far as, you know, parenting and things like that. With us paying attention to what our kids' needs are. And having that conversation around the dinner table is extremely important. But, you know, look, every kid is different. Every kid matures differently and at different pace and have different needs specifically. So, I mean, our rule is 13 to have a phone. And at least they're a teenager at that point. And then we can, again, piecemeal it as far as responsibility. The other thing about it is, especially with parenting and having a device and having access to it, the password, the PIN, pattern lock, whatever it is, I have it. And at any time I can look, because even the parental monitoring systems may not catch some activity that they're doing that was, like you said earlier, innocent. I mean, they could be looking at a Lego set, and all of a sudden they click on an advertisement and it takes them somewhere totally different, or they don't know where they're going and didn't mean to, and now they have questions. And that's where the communication part comes in. A lot of times they're like, I didn't mean to go here. Here's what it is. You know, what do I do?
Well, and I think that's such a great point. And I think a lot of times we underestimate how sophisticated kids are. When my youngest son, Timmy, was 5, I was in my office in my home having a meeting, and he came in holding my tablet, which he used to play games, and he was teaching himself another language, and, you know, it was all very harmless. And he walked in and he said, Mom, can I have your expiration date? And we all stopped and looked at him. I said, what expiration? And he said, for the visa. And I said, why? And he was trying to order a dunk tank for a party we were having. And I couldn't believe that at 5, he was able to get so far as to just the point where he needed my expiration date. And I was a couple days away from having a giant dunk tank delivered to my house. And he didn't see anything wrong with it. And even when I said to him, the party is going to be 55 degrees, he said, that's okay. I put a wetsuit in the bag. And, you know, it started hitting me like we underestimate the kids and what they are capable of doing. So I agree with you 100%. The supervision is probably the key. Is that what I mean, is it the supervision, the communication, is that all the model and the modeling? What you just mentioned, you know, don't sit at a restaurant and have your phone out the whole time, because obviously the kids are going to get bored. They want to do what mom and dad are doing. So do you think that's really like the trifecta? It's the supervision and the modeling, the communication. Is that what we need to express to parents?
Yeah, you know, honestly, I'm only speaking on my behalf, but as a parent, our time is precious anyways with our families and our kids, because they grow up, eventually move off and things of that nature. And so, you know, we have a rule. We don't have any electronics at the dinner table. When we go out, they're put away. I mean, obviously we have them to get to places, to map, and, you know, to check on a restaurant that's closed or things like that. So yes, I think honestly the connection and the importance of communication is extremely important.
You know what? That is such a great point. We're going to take a break, and we will be back with more of Special Agent Dave Fryman from the FBI talking about internet safety for parents. We'll be right back.
told me a bottle couldn't dream. That I would never become a superhero. But I learned how to fly. Just to come back in a new disguise and be the hero that I've always wanted to be.
Welcome back to Brainstorm. I'm joined by Special Agent from the FBI, David Fryman from Atlanta, Georgia. And Dave brings a wealth of experience. Dave, you are a former Marine. You are a Special Agent in the FBI. What in your personal life also lends to this this whole topic of protecting children and internet safety for parents? What can you tell me about yourself personally?
Well, on a personal side, been married 29 years, coming up on 29 years, and I have two awesome teens. One is getting ready to go to college, so it's that transition out, but had some long experience, obviously, with kids in the household and growing up in the device age, if you will.
Well, and you know what? That is such a great way to say it. It is the device age, because we really have gone from, every generation has seen growth in technology, of course, but this generation of children now has been alive for the greatest growth that I think we've ever seen. We had phones that were attached to walls, and we had typewriters. We didn't have computers in school. And now they not only have access to computers, they have these mobile devices, whether it's a tablet, whether it's a cell phone. They have these devices that really expose them to the world, the entire world. And I think as a parent myself, which I have two in college and one in middle school, I think one of the scariest things is that we were raised never to talk to strangers. And we raised our kids, never talk to strangers, never get in the car with somebody you don't know, all these things that have always been standard things. And now we live in a world where with ride sharing, kids do get in the car with strangers. And with the internet, they can instantly be connected with somebody halfway across the world. I guess what I want to ask you is, how serious is it? Do parents really need to pay attention to the possibility of online predators? There's always that, it's not going to happen to my kid. Or my kid knows better, we told them what to do. But is it a real danger, predators that are on the internet?
Well, the bottom line is that we wouldn't be here talking about this if, it didn't happen. And it does happen all the time. Kids are put in a situation that, we give a lot of credit to our kids being intelligent, smarter than us, how to program the VCR, time clock and things like that. I know is a ongoing joke as far as when my parents were growing up, we did those type of things, and then they're doing amazing things. But when it comes to safety and protecting themselves and their identity and really knowing what's going on at the end or the other end of the phone or a mobile device, they're just not as knowledgeable as we think, and we assume it, but it's not that way. The bottom line is, and we talked about this years ago, and I mentioned it too, is that people can communicate, like you just said, halfway around the world, or they could be right next door. And with a mobile device, that person could be a predator on an individual that is at a sporting event, kids' sports, and they're so easy to put in, all the highlights of their kids, which is great, but they have school names, school uniforms, school numbers. They mention a kid by name in there. My daughter so-and-so at this school is doing a great job in soccer or was voted MVP. And so what happens is the next time a predator, links onto this individual, maybe they friend them. Maybe they say they go to that school. And so they think that they're a friend of theirs from school, and they're not. But yet they're in the bleachers, they're watching, and they're a predator, and see their number, know their name, call them by name, and they think they know them. And then the next thing you know, they're gone or some other tragedy happens.
Well, I know, and just to show how generational it is, my father was always so strict about, ripping things up before you put them in the garbage and not letting your identity be, found by somebody rummaging through a garbage can or a garbage bag. And nowadays, predators don't have to go through your garbage bag. They don't have to hide anywhere in the bushes and lurk around. it's not even that the information's out there, it's that the parents are putting information out there that could jeopardize their children. The kids are posting things and putting things out there that they assume is safe. You know, I've heard so many times from teenagers, oh no, it's a private, it's a private account, only for people that I let see it. But they don't understand that there could be one kid that they let see it that lets other people see it. And that's kind of how these things go out of control. You know, what can parents do? I mean, should they be putting as much stuff? I don't use social media. I tend to be more private than that. I don't feel a need to share everything with the entire world. But I know for a lot of people, the technology's there and they love to do this. What should we have parameters on what's really safe, what we should be letting people know about our children?
That's a great point. And again, as parents, we're very proud of our kids, and it's nothing new about that. And of course, you want to share. You have a wall in your house full of pictures of great moments in time, vacations and things like that. It gives us the ability to share that. And one of the things too that kids and parents may not be aware of is there's a lot of apps out there that say, okay, automatically delete after 30 seconds. Well, any individual that knows how to take a screenshot of their phone can screenshot it as soon as they get it, and it's saved forever, and they can share it and things like that, or use it for other nefarious reasons. Okay, well, you showed me that, take some pictures of this, or I'm going to tell your parents, or whatever, and especially not just friends that they know, but predators that end up befriending these kids, because again, they're not having conversations with their parents or their neighbors or their friends. Even in school, they are wanting to fill that conversation void with anyone that'll listen, even if it's online. So they think they're anonymous and they're not, or the conversation is private and it's not. So we have to be very diligent as parents to be aware of what our kids are in or into, especially downloading apps and things like that for app approval and other things.
I can't agree with you more. I mean, I think in real life, not the digital internet world, but in real life, children they're trusting, and they don't always have that experience to be able to tell when somebody's truthful, when they're not. And they tend to see something on TV and they think it's real. They see something on the internet, they think everything's real. And it's hard for them to discern. So, it seems like, children would be the easiest prey, seniors and children, as far as predators going after them and misrepresenting themselves, telling them things that are not true. So everything you've said about parents, communicating, knowing what they're doing is so important. What about when the kids open up an app or they try to download something and it asks for permission to do everything? Like, can it see your contacts? Can it take pictures? Is this something that parents should be aware of? Because it seems like even the simplest apps ask you all these questions. They want access to all of your information. Is that normal?
Yeah. So, if there is an app that shares photos, it wants access to your photo library. It wants access to your contacts, because then it could send notifications to say, hey, this person has this app, get it too, so that you can communicate and things like that. So there are a lot of things like that. Here's my recommendation. And again, as a parent, whatever the kids want as far as an app or that they discussed, you make sure that you have approval, because they're on my, Apple account or whatever. I have to approve it before they download it, first of all. And secondly, go and read up on it. It is extremely easy to go to the internet and to look up that specific app before you download it to say exactly what it does. And find out what other parents may have posted about it as well, because sometimes they don't discuss everything that the app does, or there's other nefarious things that end up being used for that app. Although it's a good app, or it was intended for good use, it's now intended for bad, or can be used for bad.
Now, there's, the predators. We always see the person in the shadow with the dark hood, and we tell kids, you have to be careful. These people are out there. Everybody is not who they say they are. But then there's another issue that kids face, and that's one that's way more close to home, and it's cyberbullying from people that they know, people they go to school with. people who may live in their neighborhood. And that's a tough one because it takes bullying, which is, soul crushing for so many kids. I mean, it's led to suicides of children. And it takes it to this level where it's not just one person saying something to that person alone or with a small group of kids. Now it's out there for the world to see. And it seems like something like that, we do, as a community of parents, need to really make sure we know what our parents are posting as well as receiving. How do you feel about that?
So cyberbullying is extremely important to address, and parents need to be involved. Here's the thing. I think going back to education and teachers and stuff, I think that they have done an extremely good job, with whatever standards they have to teach or whatever, but also discussing, verbal bullying in person, those type of things where people, a lot of kids will stand up for others. They'll if somebody's getting bullied or whatever, all of a sudden somebody will step in and they'll physically say, hey, stop doing that, that's wrong. And then you have that. The problem with cyberbullying, though, is that there is no crowd around you to jump in and protect in the sense of a physical presence. And so a lot of times these kids get and feel isolated when they start getting bullied. And that, again, going back to the beginning of our conversation, with the limited time that we've had, is that communication is important. We don't interview somebody for a job online, or texting. We're not going to text and say, hey, how do you feel? What is your opinion on this? As people that hire, others, we would call them in and we want to see their body language, how they act, what's going on. Same thing. You want to be personal with your kids to ask them. It doesn't have to be every day, and it doesn't have to be an inquisition. It has to be a specific situation where you are just, hey, what's going on today? How are you feeling? Did anything take place? And whether they're getting bullied or not, or cyberbullied or not, they absolutely know if somebody else is, and that can that can help.
Well, I have to be honest, I think it's timeless. The supervision and the communication are timeless and now need it more than ever with our digital age. So Special Agent David Fryman from the Atlanta Bureau of the FBI, and also a dad, thank you for sharing all of your expertise. I know parents across the country will appreciate it. Join us next time for another episode of Brainstorm.
Marie, you have prediabetes.
Prediabetes? I don't have time to eat right or exercise. I'm a busy mom.
Oh, you're a busy mom.
Yeah.
This is great news. Busy moms never get prediabetes.
Wait, what?
Let me just... Yeah, this is all the people at risk for prediabetes, and way over here, busy moms. No?
Everybody has a dream. Mine was to see the ocean.